First of all, that's a lie. There's no one who, especially an effeminate man like him, there's no one out there walking the streets of D.C. late at night that is thinking, as they breathe the air, oh my goodness, I am terrified of climate change, but thank the Lord I don't have to worry about getting somebody knocking me in the back of the head. That doesn't exist.
Clay, I didn't know the range was hot. I didn't know you were taking incoming on this one, but sure enough, this was over on, was this MSNBC or CNN? It was one of the communist channels.
Look, and let me just point this out before you play it. Of all the opinions I've ever given, I want there to be less people murdered in America seemed to me to be one of the least controversial takes in my 20-year media career. Hey, I hate murders, and I wish less people got murdered. I thought, man, this is something that everybody could agree with. I was wrong. I've been getting lit up over this. It's really one of the funniest things.
I would generally, as his corner man, I would rush to his defense of this. But this is just weak sauce, top to bottom. But here is a former Jeb ! Bush comms director. So one of those Republicans who now just is a Democrat but refuses to say it and goes on Democrat channels to attack actual Republicans. Here he is attacking by name Clay Travis on MSNBC for saying things that all of us are saying. But here we go. Play one.
This is all a power play, right? It's all about the vibes and the look. And that's why you've got guys like Clay Travis on Fox News, I guess, rooting for living in a military state right now, because they're trying to demonstrate strength and machismo. And it's mostly more about that than about the policy.
Clay, your testosterone has just overwhelmed the MSNBC table over there.
By the way, I don't even see how testosterone is involved in wanting less murders. Are there people with high levels of estrogen that just want more people murdered?
Excuse me, Clay. The claim was made that it was your overwhelming machismo that is driving this assessment.
I will acknowledge to MSNBC that in comparison to virtually all of the men that appear on that network, I would have overwhelming machismo. But this felt like somewhat of a calculated attack, Buck, because yesterday Media Matters. Media Matters wrote the headline. This is a real headline. Outkicks Clay Travis. Federal takeover of D.C. should be a test case for whether we can go into other cities. And then they pulled, here's my quote that they said was so unbelievable. I would like D.C. to be a test case for whether we can go into other cities where far too many people are being murdered and help to drive down the violent crime rate there as well. Again, I'm not surprised usually when people come after me or you for something that we might say, because there are things that we say that people on the left would be unhappy about. This, to me, is the least, being in favor of there being fewer murders is the least controversial thing I may have ever said in my media career. But I think it's indicative of their inability to pick rational things to fight about, because they're just so reflexively anti-Trump that even things that are not particularly political, hey, let's have less people die in D.C., they automatically line up against him on. It really is derangement that is not getting better.
Well, I'm glad Clay was able to take a moment to stop smashing beer cans against his face and belching the alphabet with all of his machismo, talking about
I will say that's a good criticism. Yeah.
It was amazing. I saw that. I said, wow, really just throwing elbows at my man Clay over this one, too. This is not even, you say way crazy. No one even remembers what you said about Michelle Obama. I was like, oh, they're going to come after him on that one. But nope, apparently not. So that's like the 748th least controversial thing that I said yesterday. And somehow that's the one that they decided to come after. On HBO for my hot take on sports for Simone Biles not being like the bravest for stepping out of an event. Remember that one?
Yes.
It's always the ones that you don't expect. It's always the ones, the takes that you put out there that you don't. Okay, let's dive into now the crime situation and this back and forth, because I think once again, Trump. This was my favorite. Anand Giridharadas. I'm actually trying to get that one right. Giridharadas was on Morning Joe. I did not see this live. Unfortunately, my Morning Joe viewing did not catch this one. But this is the kind of stuff that is being offered up. Meanwhile, Kash Patel is saying, yeah, FBI just arrested a whole bunch of very scary, very bad dudes, bad people who have committed very serious crimes who are out there in D.C. So things are already happening. They're already taking action to take violent criminals off the streets. Over at MSNBC, this guy, Mr. Gerardahardis, is saying that this is what he's worried about. Play 2.
A relatively small crime problem is being used for specific authoritarian purposes that we know and understand. So let's be clear about DC does have one really big crime problem, which was the January 6th insurrection incited by the current president of the United States. And his first act in coming back was pardoning all the people who tried to overturn constitutional republic order in Washington, D.C. When I go to D.C., I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid of losing my vote. I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid that my children's freedom to breathe will be stolen in a world where climate change policy is non-existent.
Clay, I'm not scared of crime in D.C. I'm scared of climate change. Might be the most perfect distillation of lib MSNBC delusion I have ever heard post-COVID. I mean, it might be the craziest thing, and I'm sure he's not alone in believing this.
I think that opposing Trump trying to bring down violent crime in D.C. may be the craziest anti-Trump position that Democrats have taken yet. I look, there are other things Trump, I think, has exposed them on, men and women's sports, for instance, but that's a choice they made prior to Trump. This is a direct response to Trump saying, I want to bring down the overall death rate in the country, in our nation's capital. I want it to be a beautiful jewel of a city with low crime, low homelessness, less graffiti, less waste product everywhere. And this guy comes on and says that he's worried about climate change more than he's worried about being mugged. First of all, that's a lie. There's no one who, especially an effeminate man like him, there's no one out there walking the streets of D.C. late at night that is thinking, as they breathe the air, oh my goodness, I am terrified of climate change, but thank the Lord I don't have to worry about getting somebody knocking me in the back of the head. That doesn't exist. And this is one of the things that I think is exposing Democrats, is that their arguments are so profoundly inauthentic that even people who might believe in climate change don't believe that argument. And I'm surprised that guy has kids, because frankly, that's not an argument that sounds like someone with a functional penis would make. So congratulations to him on that, I guess. But this is, maybe that's machismo coming out of me. But come on, like this is not a real argument that a rational human being would make, and he doesn't even believe it, right? I mean, this is the essence, I think, of their collapse as a party, why they keep hitting new lows in support, and why they basically have no men in America that are supporting the Democrat Party now that have functional brains at all. I think it's arguments like these.
Spoken like the mansplaining machismo expert himself,
Yeah.
Clay Travis. All the machismo, just I can't handle it all. Yeah, man, crime is bad, and anyone who's lived in D.C. or spent time there knows that this has been remember, at one point it was the murder capital of the United States. I understand it's gotten a lot better since then, but it also got a lot worse in 2023 relative to where it has been in the 21st century. And there's also more and more evidence that they're cooking the books and that their prosecutors are downgrading felony crimes to non-felonies to make things look better. Anyone who has seen the show The Wire remembers this, and anyone who's worked in a major police department knows this is something that is a temptation for the brass. Oh yeah, we're doing a great job in this precinct because we're actually not doing the arrests that we were doing before. Or on the prosecutorial side, same idea. We're just going to downgrade all these arrests to something that's not a big deal.
Also, Jan 6th as in some way the worst day for America since the Civil War, even trying to continue to make that argument, which is something that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden tried to sell. There was barely a blip when Trump pardoned everybody who was involved in Jan 6th. Now, partly that's because Biden pardoned his entire family right beforehand. But I also think it's an understanding that they played that for every ounce that they could. And there's just no juice left in that orange, so to speak.
I'm telling you, when I'm walking down the street, I'm not worried about climate change, but I am worried about identity theft, because that can hit any of us.
Boom.
The real thing that's out there. That's a real crime to be concerned about. Credit cards get hacked. Social security numbers can be used once they're stolen to open up bogus accounts. Online identity theft is a crime that can hit any of us anytime. This is why you need LifeLock. LifeLock detects and alerts you to potential identity threats you may not spot on your own. And if you do become a victim of identity theft and you're a LifeLock member, you can rely on a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist at LifeLock who will work with you to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. It's important to understand how cybercrime and identity theft are affecting our lives. You want LifeLock's online identity theft protection. It is your best defense. Become a LifeLock member today. Join now. Save 40% off your first year with promo code BUCK. Call 1-800-LifeLock or go online to lifelock.com. Use my name, Buck, as your promo code for 40% off. Terms apply.